Hello and welcome to Wide Angle. The Deepening Crisis in West Asia, ISIS, is it going to set up and establish a Islamic caliphate or a khilafat, as they say? Well, it is a forbidding agenda that we have proposed to discuss today, and we have with us at my extreme right Mohan Guruswamy, expert in foreign affairs, and on my right we have Atul Aneja, who was, in fact, who's come straight virtually from the theatre where all this action is going on. He was the Hindus correspondent in West Asia, and now he is Hindus correspondent for diplomatic affairs, strategic affairs. What do you make of this, Mohan? What is going on?
I think if you look at it in a macro scale, all these countries were created in the colonial era. You know, Gertrude Bell sat with a pen and a piece of paper on the maps and drew lines, and that's how they partitioned these countries. Countries which didn't exist as they are, as we know them as nationalities. There was no Iraqi nationality. There was a Mesopotamian area, there was a Damascus area, you know. So these countries were created. Now, countries are still essentially tribal. They've got their own divisions, they've got sectarian divisions, they've got tribal divisions. And you're looking at the spread from there into Afghanistan and then further into Pakistan. So this whole map which you're looking at, many people say that it is going to see the emergence of new countries. The emergence of new countries is an ongoing process. Since 1990, we've seen the emergence of 31 countries. Even last year, there was a new country, Southern Sudan. So this process is going to continue because in the absence of an overarching aspirational system, you know, like India has, you know, egalitarianism, democracy, you know, secularism, all that, to hold us together and make us feel optimistic about our possibilities. And then when you are trying to hold only by narrow identities, then you run into all these problems. You know, you're seeing a problem between Shias and Sunnis. That is a natural division which existed there, but now being exacerbated by outside interests for their own reasons.
Which outside interests?
Could be anybody. Could be, you know, the West has this very simple way of looking at maps. You know, when they look at India, they say Hindu. They look at Pakistan, they say Muslim. So this is a Muslim-Hindu thing. Now, when they look at Iraq, they would say this is Shia, Sunni, and Kurdish. But mind you, the support for a Kurdish state existed right from the end of World War II, where Mullah Mustafa Barzani, the Red Mullah, was located in the Soviet Union. So all this is being created out there, you know. And so this is a constant process.
You seem to be very sanguine about the whole thing. You think this had to happen because this is all post-colonial phase, and things are giving way. Because
sanguine would not be a good way. I'm not sanguine about it because it affects our, you know, if, you know, oil goes to $120, it means, you know, another.
But you're not overtly disturbed.
No, I am disturbed. I'm concerned because, you know, it upsets our equilibrium inside.
Right.
It upsets the regional balances. It creates uncertainty at a time when the world itself needs stability to recover from the 2008 economic shocks.
Atul, what do you think? Why is it happening at this particular moment?
Interesting, because there's a lot of geopolitics in this. And I would take off from 1990, which Mohan had just mentioned, which is the collapse of the Soviet Union. And that is a time when you have a trend of so-called unipolarity coming. We see a system of regime changes. He talked about 31 countries coming into existence after 1990. It's not an accident that it has happened that way, because you see first the breakup of Yugoslavia. And thereafter, that's where the experiment with regime change is really practiced in a modern way. And then the same process is carried forward in 2003 in Iraq, where Saddam Hussein knocked out. All points of resistance which was Arab nationalism at that point. So all Arab nationalist leaders we find were targeted. After Saddam Hussein, we now hear the poisoning of Yasser Arafat. And then the cycle to me comes across to Libya, where Gaddafi is knocked out. And then they get after Bashar al-Assad, which is Syria. Syria is not doable anymore because of various factors, including the support of the Chinese and Russians gave to the Assad government. And this is, I would say, Iraq is phase 2 of Syria. Syria is old story, nothing going to happen. So a new sanctuary has been created. In the regime change logic, the target ultimately is Iran in the region. And in the long run, I fear it will be Russia and China, the emerging powers, the so-called emerging economies. And I think we are also part of that scheme.
Yes. Right. Let me look at it this way. You said the regime change in Syria is not on. In fact, let me place a few facts before you, Mohan and Atul. They tried regime change since August 2011 in Syria. They've gone through recently what happened. There was an election, and what happened? Bashar al-Assad won. They have been trying to get Ayad Elawi, one of their own ex-CIA men. They wanted him to be the prime minister. They also tried out with Ahmad Chalabi as prime minister.
Back again.
And now they are saddled with democracy. People have elected Nur al-Maliki. Recently elections took place. Despite the Saudis and despite the Americans, Nur al-Maliki is there. Now they are both doing this to the Great Alliance, which almost knocked out Bashar al-Assad. Bashar al-Assad is there. I'll never forget Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State. Get out of the way, Assad. And on 4 different occasions. Now he's still there. And Nur al-Maliki is there. But, and now the Americans are ostensibly, on the face of it, asking the Iranians to get together and help bail everybody out of the situation. Let us begin from there. Are Iranians going to bite?
I don't think so. I don't think so. The Iranians are very clear about this. I think this whole game or this argument that there is a rapprochement between the Americans and the Iranians because of the nuclear dialogue which is taking place, I think it's premature to draw any conclusions out of it. Because the real test will come when Iran decides its relationship with Russia and China. Because after Ukraine, we see the world is once again coming to a new Cold War kind of situation where you will have to make choices, especially on the energy side. Will Iranian gas go to Europe via the so-called Nabucco pipeline, which the West wants eventually? Or will the Iranians decide, okay, they have this gas, that should go to Iraq, and from Iraq into Syria, and then you are in the Mediterranean, and then from there along the Russian system into Europe. So the Iranians have to take this call. At this time, they are in a big mollycoddled by the Americans, hoping that they would join the Western energy system. I think the real test is yet to come. So it will be very premature to say that there is a rapprochement and the Iranians are going to bite this bait of getting their boots into the ground or in some other indirect way in the quagmire in Iraq.
Mohan, even assuming that the Iranians were inclined, they would like to know the following facts. Who is behind the ISIS? Who is providing the armored personnel carriers, the tanks, the money, the training, the armaments, the ordnance? All of this is coming from somewhere. For heaven's sake, where do you think is all of this coming from?
Secretary Kerry should tell us. He's a man who knows. And you know, so this is not obviously coming, even if it's coming from Saudi Arabia, it is coming.
So it's coming from the West, Saudi Arabia?
At the signal of somebody else, you know, because they have all these end user agreements, UMAs, you know, which you have to certify.
Yes.
And so all this is certified. Qatar, why does a small country like Qatar need so much of arms and ammunition and weapons? You know, it's all meant to garrison, you know, the area. So, you know, that is one part of the story.
You see, in Hindi, I don't know whether you can give me an example of it in English. In Hindi, there's a saying, chor se kaho chori karo, kotwal se kaho pakad lo. So, is in this kotwal se kaho pakad lo, you are wanting to involve the Iranians that go commit theft. You've asked the thieves let loose, and now you're asking the Iranians to help us cage them back into our jails.
But you know, this business of splitting countries is an old thing. You remember the days when Mrs. Gandhi used to keep warning that destabilizing India is part of this big agenda. And there was, I think, serious attempts made during that time. You know, India held firm despite all our differences because of certain other aspirations and values which held us together. And in spite of labeling us as, you know, Hindu state, you know, pro-Soviet state, you know, with Russian bases in Vizag and Cochin or whatever, Karwar, we held on. And I think that habit persists because, you know, American policy institutions are very entrepreneurial because they change. And there's competitive policy entrepreneurship which goes on. So people are being creative all the time because in that there are funds. The think tanks have to recommend new alternatives to get money. So they're constantly doing this and churning up new ideas. So, and then you have a state where, apart from where the aviation sector is the #1 part of the GDP, without export of aircraft, military and civilian, the US would have sunk. Okay, even with this huge trade deficit, this is what keeps them afloat and gives them huge surpluses and value addition. So, you know, you have a certain vested interest in conflict. And then you have a conflict mind. That is, you know, you got to see everything in terms of conflicts. And if they don't do it, you know, it's a threat to my no, for heaven's sake, if suppose Iraq tomorrow is partition between Shias and Sunnis, or something happens, the Sunnis take Baghdad. Sunnis had Baghdad for a long time. Was it a threat to American national security? Now it's become a threat to national security, that we are going to collapse. They were saying the same thing about Syria 6 months ago. There's a threat to national security. You know, things have not changed, but now it's no longer a threat to national security. So they have this constant churn in US. So therefore I always say that you can never trust them to be firm on a line. You know, don't forget, even in Iran today, which is their second adversary, used to be their ally in the region. You know, it's all very regime specific. Remember the time in '71 when they asked China to attack India? You know, this goes on constantly. You know, you can't be their permanent friend or their permanent enemy.
But you can't be permanent friends or enemy with anybody. And why heap all the blame only upon them? Because they happen to be a little more proactive. Are they an imperialist power?
Well, they are not an imperialist power in that old-fashioned sense that, you know, you need colonies. You are an imperialist power in the sense that you're the only one who prints the dollars. Okay? And you can print as many dollars as you want. And we are all hankering for it. We all keep our reserves in dollars. You know, there is more dollars outside in reserves than with the US system.